feel like my little plant doesn't get any love. Oh my gosh, guys, my desk is a mess. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dana, and this channel is all about SMS beauty, which is skincare, makeup, and sunscreen. If you're into any of those three things, might I recommend you sticking around, subscribing, liking this video, and we'll get into it. Today we have the middle M, which stands for makeup, and that is because we have the new Rare Beauty, what is it called? Positive Light Tinted Moisturizer, Broad Spectrum SPF 20 Sunscreen. So this is a tinted moisturizer, really more so than a sunscreen. Use this as like an addition to your sunscreen. Don't ever use it as your sunscreen, but we're gonna be testing it out. I actually have two shades because I bought this one when it first launched, I guess, and I had a very hard time trying to figure out the shade. I don't feel like those shades that they had, the swatches and everything on Rare Beauty and Sephora helped. So I had a very hard time with the shade matching. This one is 20W, which is too light. It also doesn't look very warm, but who knows? I think my cat's trying to get in. So I bought this first, and then when I actually went into Sephora over the weekend, I picked up this one, which is 24N. I think this is a better shade for me, as I have a little bit of tan. I may hold on to this just because it might be a good winter shade, but we'll see. And let's get into kind of the specs of it. And then what I'm going to be doing is I think it's going to be about a 3-day wear test. We'll see. I've already worn it a few times, so I kind of have a sense of what I need to do, what not, but I wanted to wear it in different ways because what I really have found with this is that it kind of takes the shape and the form of whatever base you have underneath. So if you can see my face right now, it's super glowy, and I'll get into that in a second. So I'm gonna test it in different ways with different bases. That way I think it'll help others, because for me, the first time I wore it, I was like, oh, okay, it's this way. But then I kind of realized it actually is very flexible and versatile. It just kind of depends on what you put underneath it. Okay, so it's a flexible tinted moisturizer that immediately blurs skin with glowy light to medium coverage, all while hydrating and protecting skin from the sun. Okay, if you wear sunscreen underneath as well. So it's supposed to be light coverage, which I 100% agree with, and radiant. That's kind of the finish that they say. I don't know if I believe that, but we'll get into that in a second. Think no makeup in a bottle. This weightless, breathable, tinted formula blends like a moisturizer into a blurred, hydrated, natural, radiant, and non-sticky finish that lasts. I do agree with the non-sticky finish, which is wonderful. I love that. And I also agree with the no makeup in a bottle. It actually, without like getting too far into it, it does remind me a little bit of the Glossier Skin Perfecting Tint, but not maybe as sheer of coverage, but that's kind of where I land with that. It comes in 24 shades and retails for $29 US. So like I said, I have the shade 20W and 24N. So I think 24N, they say, is a light medium with neutral peach undertone. I did want to mention, and I'm going to do this every day when I wear it, what my base is. So today I wanted to do glowy because yesterday I did a little bit more matte, and I will do more matte again on video, but I did the Sally Riley CEO Vitamin C Rich Hydration Cream. I usually only use this at night, especially as the weather gets warmer, because it is rich, as the name would suggest. And then I use the Murad Vitamin C Day Moisture Broad Spectrum SPF 30. So both of these can give me a very, very glowy base, as you see here, and that's what I wanted to try. And also, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different application on kind of all three sides of my face. It might be a little tricky, but we're going to try to do brush, sponge, and hands, or some variation of that. So let's zoom in and do that. I am using that darker shade today, and I'm going to try with my hands first, and I'm not using a ton, but I do want to focus on the middle part of my face and then kind of blend out from there. The next side, I'm going to use this sponge. It's a little damp from yesterday, but I didn't like totally dampen it. And I think that might actually work a little bit better because I used it very damp the other day and I feel like it soaked up everything. It still does. Yeah, you're going to use a lot of product with this sponge. And for for the forehead, we'll use a brush. Okay, so that's all 3 portions applied. Hand, sponge, brush. I am looking up close in my little mirror here, and I definitely think that you get the least amount of coverage, oddly enough, with the brush. I think that and the sponge are going to soak it up a little bit, but I do like the way that the sponge kind of leaves the finish. So I'm going to go over it with the sponge. I think it could work almost any way. It's not a lot of coverage, that's for sure. I was expecting a little bit more just because lately skin tints have been coming out where they're really like more on the side of light to medium coverage versus a true skin tint, which is like sheer to light. But this one I would say is definitely more of the sheer to light fashion. It's not super easy to build it up, but you can build it a little bit. But if you're looking for coverage, this is not going to be the one for you. It's just not. The way I think I like it is with the lightly dampened or almost dry sponge. You can also, I think the hands are going to give you pretty much the same coverage. So it kind of depends on how you like to apply things. Do you like to use a sponge? Do you like to use your hands? Either way is going to work. I wouldn't say that this one is the best with a brush. I think it's just soaking up a lot of it. But you know, kind of do whatever works for you. That's what I always say. Okay, I'm going to finish off the rest of my face. I'm definitely going to need to powder a little bit in the T-zone today, especially because I'm going to be on some Zoom calls later. I'm going to try not to do too much makeup, of course, because I want to see what the tint does. And then we'll check in probably at the end of the day and then a few more days of different bases underneath. So see you later. All right, this is the final look. I just used a little bit of blush, powder, the Vive Eye Wands, which I always use, did my brows, mascara. So I did powder. It doesn't look like it, but I used this, and I'll probably maybe do a little bit more. So we'll use a little bit of a bigger brush today, or right now. And I think it'll calm down a little bit, but I think I just need a little bit more powder. Okay, so initial thoughts on the Rare Beauty. I don't love my forehead. I just don't really like it with a brush. I think that's fine. It's not meant, I'm sorry, I'm just putting stuff away. I don't think it's meant for a brush. I do see, like, it just feels like the coverage is a little weird up there. The rest of my face looks like skin, but it's very light coverage. I really truly think this is one of the lightest coverages that I have besides the Glossier. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm not gonna know anything until later to see like how it rubs away or if it does or how it kind of sits. But I just have a feeling most skin tints, you know, they just wear throughout the day. It's not like they wear off and you can see patches, but they do wear off. So that's kind of what I'm expecting, but we'll see and I'll do check-ins. So see you in a little bit. Cheers. This is, well, this is a painted wine glass that I drew of my cat. And this is not wine. This is my new favorite drink. It's seltzer and pomegranate juice. Well, that was an eventful welcome back. So hi. It is about 3-ish. So it's been on for about 4 hours now. And I just wanted to sit down and check. There's not a lot to report. I do see that it looks a little funky on my chin. That might just be from the powder. Like I did put powder there, but my chin is like an issue sometimes. And then on my forehead, it looks a little not great. I would say that it's probably just because I didn't like the application with the brush. Both sides where I use my hand and then the sponge look really blurred and really just natural. Like they look kind of airbrushed in a very, very natural way. Like it doesn't look like I have makeup on, but it also covers any imperfections or redness that I have. Whereas up here, no one's gonna see this unless you're looking in a mirror like this, but it looks just a little like dry. And you can kind of see my pores. Again, I really think it's just the method, the brush application. So probably tomorrow I won't use a brush at all, just because I know, like for this foundation, I just didn't like it. But otherwise, I am seeing like just a really nice blurred kind of look for something that is so light and so natural. And my blush has held up really well. Like everything looks pretty great. I mean, it's not hot out and I'm not doing anything. I'm on my computer typing away, but I like it so far. Also, it has remained glowy, which is nice. It's nice to see. I mean, it's glowy under the lights, but I also, when I go out into natural lighting, it looks nice and glowy. So the base is just kind of holding up. This tint, I really believe, is just going to take the properties of whatever is underneath it. So signing off for now. Check back in when we film tomorrow. Hello. We're already zoomed in. I guess we'll just stay that way. Back for day 2 of the Rare Beauty Positive Light Tinted Moisturizer review. And today, if you cannot tell, it's a matte kind of day. So I already used the sunscreen that, oh, wow, that is blinding. This is the new Peter Thomas Roth Invisible Priming Sunscreen, SPF 45. As you can tell, well, you might not because of the lights, but this is a matte sunscreen. It is pretty much the same as the Supergoop one. So this is just like the, you can't even see it. It's just like the Supergoop and the Black Girl sunscreen, the Make It Matte. It goes on invisible, it goes on matte, and that is what I have done today. So I already put it on. It's been probably 5 or 10 minutes on my face. I'm gonna go ahead and apply this now. And as I mentioned, sorry, all of a sudden my face is itching, only when I'm on camera. As I mentioned the other day, I did not like the way that it applied with the brush, so I'm not gonna use that today. I'm just gonna do the sponge today, just because I've been loving the sponge and I've been using it with it. I think you could use your hands just as easily, so it kind of depends on what you want to do, but today I'm just going to use the sponge. Is it a cat hair? Probably. It really does remind me of the Glossier though. And it looks like I have a lot on the sponge, at least for me, but I'm going to make sure to spread it around. And it doesn't seem like it actually is a lot. Like, it looks like that should be a lot, but then once you move the sponge around, you're just like, where did it go? Probably was absorbed by the sponge. Okay, I think I need to use my hands a little. That is what I'm seeing is the key. If you do want a bit more coverage, it's actually the hands, not actually, I mean, that makes perfect sense. The sponge is absorbing a lot of it. So if you do want more coverage, I would say your hands are gonna be your best bet. I do like to go over, wow, what's going on with my hair up there? I do like to kind of just make sure there are no streaks with the sponge. I have found that this, out of a lot of the other skin tints that I've tried, is more blurring than, sorry, I'm trying to get a little bit more for my eye area. I have found that it is a little bit more blurring than some of the others. So if that's something that's important to you, I would say that this one is pretty blurring for sure. Oh my gosh. It's, focus. As it focuses, it goes out of whatever, 9. It's 9 o'clock. I put this on at 10 in the morning, and whew, I honestly have not looked at all because I've been so busy, and it looks beautiful. Like, it looks so good. My blush is worn off. Did I even wear blush today? But it's, yeah, it's like, oh, I wore bronzer, that's what it was. The bronzer looks fine, it looks very natural, but the actual face looks so good, like blurred and just natural. It was like 78 degrees in my house today because it's like a very weird weather type thing in the spring. So I had the fans on, I was kind of sweating, kind of not. And I like dabbed my face to get any of the sweat off, but it looks so good. Like honestly, if my face just looked like this all the time, I would be happy. So this was a good combo. Wearing it under the matte sunscreen, if it's going to be hotter or more humid, the oils do kind of come through, but not in a bad way. Like it just looks very blurred. I don't know how else to say it. I think that's the best way to describe it. On camera, because of the lights, it does look glowier than it looks in person, but it doesn't look like dry matte. It looks like natural, like your skin. So day 2, resounding success. Onward to day 3. It's day 3. It's also Friday, and I have my cat ears on. All things that make me happy. So I'm really enjoying the Rare Beauty so far, so I'm not gonna like pretend otherwise. And I thought today it would be a good opportunity to use a little bit of a different sunscreen. Not to say that this is something that everyone has in their arsenal. Not that people have arsenals of sunscreen, but I use the K Beauty or K Skin Isle Glow. So previously I used a really glowy base, which I forget which one I used, the Shiseido maybe, and I used a very glowy moisturizer, like full on glow. And then I used the matte sunscreen yesterday, and so today I wanted to use something that was really kind of like emulating a primer that could be glowy. Now you don't have to use a glowy sunscreen, but I wanted to see like how much glow can we get from it. I thought this would be fun, and because the Isle Glow kind of gives me a little bit more of a tan, I wanted to use the lighter of the shades, so I guess I'm keeping them. It's kind of ridiculous that I have that many, but we'll see. We'll see if the light shade kind of like tones down this or what it does. I'm gonna apply it the same way that I did the other day, which was using my hands to apply and then using a sponge to kind of even it out. I think that is the best technique for me. Of course, you can do whatever you want though. Comfortable. I think I need to take this blanket out. It feels a little bit more streaky than the other days, and I'm wondering if it's just the sunscreen, but honestly the sponge really does help, just kind of like patting it over anything. And I don't know if other people are experiencing it with this Rare Beauty, but I feel like I put it on and I'm like, where's the coverage? Like it's quite light compared to some of the other tints that I've been using that really have a bit more coverage than like a tint kind of, I guess, I don't know, should. So I put it on and I'm kind of like, where is the coverage? And then I put more on and I finally kind of can build it up. But I do feel like maybe my face like absorbs it, or maybe the sponge, I guess. But if you want blurring, I really do find that this one does more blurring action than anything else. This application with the glowy sunscreen underneath is kind of highlighting some texture, not that I have really any, but like highlighting pores, I guess I would say. So I would kind of be cognizant about what your skin type is and what you're trying to avoid. Glowy base might not be the one for you if you're trying to avoid texture. I'm still trying to kind of like just figure out the coverage. I think this one, to be honest, I think this one, TBH, is going to be one that you could use as really like a very quick tint and then put some concealer on over it to kind of blur out anything that wasn't blurred out just from the tint. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I could be wrong. I do love how it wears. Yesterday it wore off a little bit here and a little bit there, but those are kind of like the spaces that do wear off. but it didn't wear in a bad way. Like most tints don't, and that's why I like them, because they just kind of like naturally fade off. And because they're so light, you can't really see the patches from it fading. But I'm gonna wear this again. Of course, this is the third day. We're gonna do a final day and final check-in tonight, and see. I so far I really do like it. I don't love it. It's not my favorite, just because I find like the coverage issue is a little weird. But you know, so far so good. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. It's Friday at 8 p.m., which is why you're getting these sounds from me. I have not looked at my face all day. I swear I'm just so busy at work lately that I don't have time to do anything. But, it looks so good. I'm looking at it in my little mirror here and on camera. It's the same. It's like very, very blurred. My chin did a little bit better today. That's honestly, it's just kind of like the T, or not even the T, the L, the I. This area kind of like loses things with everything. But because they're so light coverage, it doesn't matter. But it just looks super good. Like, I'm impressed by this. The coverage is still very sheer. Like, I want to reiterate that it's one of the more sheer ones. I'm still trying to figure out, like, can you build it? I think you probably can, and I think the way that I would do it is I would use it as a tint with my hands and maybe sponge, and then go back to places that I wanted more coverage with concealer. I mean, I do that with so many things, so this is not abnormal, but this one is just really quite blurry. And I even drew on some like faux freckles, and they've stayed, so that is a very good sign. I honestly, I was just like, they're gonna be putting out another tint like everyone else. But I would say that if you are looking for something that's blurring and quite long lasting for a tint, this is it. If you're looking for one that has more coverage and is easily buildable, this is not it. But it's a pretty great one for the categories that I just mentioned. So I think that's it. I'm gonna go wash my face because it is Friday night, and what else am I gonna do but sit on my butt and watch murder and mystery? Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think I accurately described my feelings on it. I think blurring, sheer but long lasting. So not quite as sheer as the Glossier. People will always ask like, how do you compare it to the Glossier? Not as sheer as that, but maybe like the next step up. And I wasn't really able to build it super well, but you know, maybe others can. That's kind of where I stand. Really great. Am I gonna be reaching for it every day? Probably not, but at the same time, like maybe, because this blurring property is pretty amazing. Yeah, it's Friday, I'm tired, so I'm getting crazy. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, night, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.